And a very good morning to you, SugaBear and Lamali. It's time for Community Corner. This is where we highlight people in the community doing great work, giving back, and making a difference, right, in this great community that we live in. We have a special guest today.
We do.
And this was really unique how we were able to meet this person and then turn this around into a community corner. So her name is Terrina E. Flora-Alexander. She is a peer community navigator and an expert on parenting while incarcerated. Good morning, T, we like to call you. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for taking a little time this morning. Me and Lamali are privileged to have you here so we can get this information about. There's a big Senate bill that is that she's going to talk about in just a little bit. We'll get you those details and how you can get involved, so on and so forth. But first, give us a little bit about your story. Who are you? I know you live here. You have a lot of roots here in this city, so on and so forth. Give us a little background.
Yeah. So I'm T, and I grew up on the east side of Denver, over off of 31st and Cook, right around that area. Was raised on and off here. My mom was raised Air Force, so we moved back and forth like every 6 months. We'd move, and then we'd come back to the east side. Go to California and back to the east side. New Mexico, always the east side.
Got you.
I did not behave as a teenager.
Who does?
I think we all do. Yeah, we all got that. Yeah.
You know, I got on my mother's last nerve.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. And I wasn't a very good individual growing up, and I may have had a good heart, but the road to down below is led by good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And I did things. I was not a positive role model growing up in my early teens and in my 20s.
Got it.
And then I decided that it was time to do some things different. Tried to change my life, but my past kind of caught up with me, and I ended up having to go to prison. I did 15 years, 9 months, and 13 days of incarceration. When I got out, I decided to do something different with my life, and I think that's what we're here to talk about.
1,000,000%. Yeah. Now you're here making a difference. Yeah. So we'll get back to that to circle around that reflection, right, of what you had to go through, endure, and to be incarcerated, and now here you are, on a radio station and doing the work that you're doing, which is great. So, 15 years, 9 months, 13 days. At the time when you were incarcerated, you had a kid, correct?
Yes, at that time I had a little boy. His name is Addison, and he was the love of my life, still is. And he was 5.5 when I committed my crime. He was 6 years old when I walked into the prison.
Wow. And then when you got out, he was 21.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a huge, so that's probably a whole nother conversation. Like
Yes.
trying to bridge the gap between mother and son while you were away, right?
Well, while I was away is how I did bridge that gap. That's what led me to where I'm at right now. So.
Got it.
So how did you, tell us about that, how you bridged that gap and how you parented in jail.
I had to make some decisions about everything that I was doing. And while I was sitting in county jail, I knew I was going to prison. I knew. And I made the decision when I heard about a program that DOC had at the time. It no longer exists, but at the time they had this program called the apartment program. It's where a mother's child could come and spend the night every other weekend. Right. So if I'm going to sit in prison, what do I have to do that?
Yeah.
Because no matter what I was going to do, my life was to be led for my son. I needed to show him how to be a good individual, a good human. And you don't think you can do that from inside a prison cell, but you have to snatch every chance that you can. And I decided to live to leave. That was my motto from then on. I was living to leave. It guided every foot that I had to lay down in that yard. Every time I took a step, I had to think about my son. People pushing you and trying to get you to do things. And it's so easy to get in trouble when you're inside the prison. you can get a write-up. The only write-up I got while I was in there was for cutting my own hair. and I had to do 9 days in the hole for that.
Wow.
Had I continued to get write-up after write-up, I would have gotten more time.
Wow.
And that wasn't something that I was going to accept. I needed to be there for my son, and I raised him every other weekend until 2014 in the apartments.
So you were able to maintain that bond with him, especially during those formative years. It's so important.
Yes.
But you said they did away with the apartment.
Yes.
So what
closed
now?
It. Now they have a parenting class, and they have a couple of different things set up within the DOC, but nothing like the apartment program. They have a Mommy and Me program for the mothers when they first have their child, that they can go and spend 8 hours a day with their kid in the space that used to be the apartments. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's enough. It's not.
And you lived it, like you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm the expert on parenting while incarcerated. That's why people are coming to me and asking me questions. That's why the courts are like, your opinion is valid. We need to hear this from you.
I'm glad that they're invested in listening to you. I think a lot of the perception is like, well, you're a criminal, you're put away, that's it.
And that's what the majority of society thinks. But nowadays there's a shift. They're hiring people that have that justice involvement in their history. They're calling it lived experience because if you've never been in prison, you don't know what that is like. You don't know the feelings, the emotions, the mental exhaustion that you go through, the loneliness and the despair, and how sad you can feel sometimes. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel your emotions in that. So we appreciate your vulnerability in that space. So let's get to this Senate Bill 23-039. What exactly is that? Because I know, according to my notes here, it's a bill that works to reduce separation between incarcerated parents and their children. As you said, you're an expert in this, and you said earlier off air that you speak for parents. Talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so Senate Bill 23-039. Please, people, look it up. Read the bill. People that are incarcerated, go to the law library, read it, and know your rights. I didn't know anything about this stuff. And the reason, let me explain how I even got to this position. I used to fight for more programs when I was inside to spend time with my son. I needed more time. I would beg for special visits and holidays, and I was doing the weird stuff like sending food, cheesecakes, the candy, things home to him to be connected with him. And because of those life experiences, I was asked to testify on behalf of this bill. I testified for it because what it does is it ensures that incarcerated parents are present and they have the right for every single court hearing that involves their children. But these are the parents that are arrested and their children are removed from their custody, obviously, because they're sitting in a jail somewhere, and they receive a dependency and neglect case. And that's what happens. It used to be that the Department of Human Services didn't have to contact them personally. They'd send a letter, obviously, to the house of the address of where they're at. The parents are sitting in probably county jail waiting trial. They're not getting this mail.
Right.
And shortly afterwards, I don't want to be specific on times because I don't want any legal repercussions.
No, we don't want that.
Misquote anything.
Sure.
But these parents are sitting there, and since they can't respond to the mail, since they can't speak out for themselves, they're not being taken to these court hearings. Their children are being adopted out before they have a chance.
I see.
So when this bill passed, now Department of Human Services is required to contact the parent. The parent is required, well, not required, but allowed, and DOC or county jail is required to allow them to be at those court hearings. They're there's now parent advocates, and they work with like the ORPC, which is the Office of Respondent Parents Council. And these parent advocates go and they sit, and they're people with lived experience, just like me, and I love them. Every single one of them. Shout out to the advocates and to the ORPC, period, because of all the work they're doing. But these parent advocates can go into the prisons and jails and visit with them, talk to them, find out what they're needing. The lawyers are more involved with all the things that they're doing, and the parents actually have a voice. Now, these lawyers, they can reach out to me and say, hey, we see that you're an expert in implementation of the thing, and you can be a parent or an expert of parenting while you were incarcerated. What kind of information can you give me? Well, lawyers don't know about jpay.com. Anybody that's in jail has ever been arrested, they know about that. That's the quickest way to get information to an inmate. It gets there within 48 hours. The snail mail through the post office, you might get that a couple weeks later.
Wow.
Right.
See, JPay, send them pictures. They don't know about video visits. The lawyers don't know how hard it is for the parents inside to get their voice heard. So when a parent is sitting in there and they're like, look, my son's going to graduate from high school, and I would really like to have a special visit on this day so that maybe I can take some pictures with him in his graduation stuff. You know, I would love that. They send a kite. I don't know. When I did it, I sent a kite probably 6 months before this was going to happen. And then I had to write a letter to the warden. Then I had to do a proposal. And it almost didn't happen in time because the voice isn't heard. But if I can tell a lawyer, this is what I want to do with my child, maybe the lawyer can help me get things going a little bit quicker. You know, maybe someone can talk to the courts and say, look, I've been kiting my case manager. I've been sending them little notes telling them that I want to do this, 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 and this. And my case manager's not talking. I can speak on behalf of that parent and tell them this is how hard the situation is.
It's a very important piece.
Yes.
The voice, like that's
just the
part.
voice,
Yeah.
just telling people the awareness.
Yeah.
And I think people forget, I mean, you know, obviously looking at it from an outsider, but I've been involved in the justice system in other ways. People forget how important connection with family. I mean, if being in jail or prison is about rehabilitation, you have to think about what happens after.
That's right.
And when
Right.
you break those bonds and those connections, what does that do to
a lot of
person?
repercussions, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, when I was in, I lost connections with all my friends, a lot of my family. We're only allowed to have, I think it's 15 phone numbers on
Wow.
our list. You got 2 at least for your mom, 2 for your kid.
Right.
Then who else can you call? You can't be in touch with the people that you love. You can't reach out to just anybody. You can't call businesses. You're not allowed to. There's so many little things that folks don't know. And when you come back, when I came back out here, I mean, I went inside and you had to plug into the wall to get the internet, and it'd go, and then it'd say, you got mail. Now, my aunt bought me an iPhone. I turned it on and it talked to me. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Everything is different.
Yeah.
And when I came out, I was so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I'm the person that I don't mind admitting to the world, I am broken. I am institutionalized, and I need help.
That's the message right there for anyone
Yes,
out there
I need help.
who's incarcerated now, who's listening now, who may feel like there's no hope. That's the messaging.
I need everybody that is locked up to understand closed mouth don't get fed. And I know you know what that means. You have to ask for help. You have to utilize the system. There are classes, there are things inside that will help you out here.
Yeah.
Me learning how to facilitate the little groups in there, seeking safety and anger management, parenting on a mission. Guess what? My new job is teaching, seeking safety, and helping people. And I wouldn't have got it if I didn't utilize what I could inside and asking and telling people, hi, this is what I'm going through. Can you help me?
Can you help me? This is what I need. Okay, so that's the part, the voice. if you're on the inside and speak up, she just said it, closed mouths don't get fed. So I love that you said that. Okay. I want to, before we get you out of here, I want you to, other than you saying do your research on Senate Bill 23-039, what's the last message that you would give to people that are out here listening that you want them to understand and how they can get involved into helping in what you're trying to accomplish?
Okay. Check it out, folks. While I was in there, I did take all the classes and I did do all the things. And I made the choice to live to leave. And now I'm home and I'm helping people. I am at the Don't Look Back Center, and I am helping people with their recovery and sobriety. I am helping people that have been involved with the system. There are resources. If you're involved with gangs and you're one of the youth, go to GRASP, because it's amazing, the Gang Rescue and Safety Program. If you are worried about the traumas that you've been through, look up Breaking Chains, Building Bonds. It's specifically for parents and their kids that have been incarcerated. If you want some recovery work, reach out to the people that are around us. Read that book that you think is so stupid, the Go book. It's got information for you. We are all out here to help you. We want to help you. There are people that love you that you have never even met. Come on home. Wow. Let's do right. Let's do it together.
Wow. What a message right there. Thank you for that.
You are so welcome. Thank you for having me.
No,
I'm honored.
This is a beautiful moment. And just so you know, she called us one day and said, hey, you have a lot of people at Denver's Women's Correctional Facility that listen to you. You should shout them out. And she told me what she did, and I said, well, I want to have you on air, and here you are. So thank you for that, for listening to us, for supporting us, because we are a community radio station. And again, the messaging for what you're trying to accomplish, your story. I'm sure there's so many other layers to it, and I'm sure you could talk about it forever. But thank you for sharing just a little bit of it for anyone who is listening right now who needs it, because I know they're out there.
Thank you. Can I do a little shout out?
Of course.
Okay. Shout out to my son, Addison Paul.
What's up, Addison?
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And boy, you have no idea how many people you saved when I was in there. Another shout out to my daughter, who I am adopting. She is still incarcerated. Shatanya McCaffrey. Ooh, Shay, I just love you. Body, yada, 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 yada. And I love you. All you folks that are locked up, keep your head up. There's people out here fighting for you. And come on home. We got you.
I love that. That's Terrina E. Flora-Alexander, Community Corner. Thank you again for sharing your story and being here.
I'm honored.
Thank you so much.
It's 104.7 The Drop.